Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having an amazing day. If you're new here, I'm Katie, and on this channel we dive into all things manifestation, conscious creation, and really helping you to step into your power so that you can create the life you desire on purpose. So if that sounds good to you, stick around. In today's video, we're going to dive into something that was actually inspired by a question that one of you guys asked on one of my more recent videos where we were talking about manifestation, right? As always. And I was talking about how when it comes to, manifesting something new in your life, part of the process, like a huge piece of the process, really the only piece of the process is you starting to embody the feeling of what that version of you feels like in that particular desired reality. So, for example, if you have a specific manifestation in mind, or it's not even something specific, it's just a general, like an entire reality switch, an entire like elevation into a new reality, whatever it may be. It's like, well, during the process in this now moment, it's about feeling the feelings of that right now and curating that feeling within yourself right now, because the more you can feel the feeling of it now, and not necessarily the feeling of like the specific things, but feel the feeling that you would have in that situation, imagining yourself in that reality or in that particular experience. And how does that version of you feel? What are the feelings that that version of you is experiencing, and starting to feel that in your being right now? Regardless of what the current circumstances look like, it's about you bringing that feeling into your being right now, because the more that you can feel it in this now moment, the more it has to materialize for you, because the world around us is simply responding to our own energy. And so the more that we are embodying that particular energy, the more that the world around us has to shift and mold to also continue reflecting that energy back to us. So the question that one of you guys asked, which was so good, was, okay, I understand the concept, I understand the idea, but how? How to curate the feelings inside of us, and how to continue to kind of bring those feelings into our being, throughout our daily life, throughout our day. And I love this question. So first things first, if you're somebody where you haven't even started the process yet, maybe there's something, you want something to be different. Okay. So what I would recommend first is connecting with yourself in one way or another. So whether that just be meditation, whether it be journaling, whether it just be sitting and having like an inner conversation with yourself, because the first thing you need to do is identify, what is it that I desire? And then take some time with yourself to get familiar with, well, how does that feel? So let's say, for example, we're going to make this easy by just giving, a very simple example. Let's say you want to move somewhere, and that version of you that's living the life that they desire is living in this particular place. Okay. So first you're going to sit with yourself and you're going to get clear on that. Okay. And maybe you don't even have to know the exact place yet. Like I'm sometimes not very specific with it, but I just know the gist of it. Maybe I want it to be somewhere that has this particular vibe, or this particular, these particular things, whatever the case may be. You don't have to know all the specifics, but start to imagine, okay, yourself in that place. And again, apply this to anything that you're desiring. I'm just using this as an example. And as you're sitting with yourself, you're journaling about it, you're meditating on it, you're just simply kind of having like an inner dialogue with yourself about it. What are the feelings that come up in your body, in your being, when you imagine yourself in that reality? So you might start to have a visualization in your head of yourself going through your day-to-day life in that reality. And that will help bring the feeling into your being. You might be journaling about it, telling the story of your day, your day-to-day life in that place. So maybe journaling's your thing, and you're writing about it, and you're writing as if you're already there, and you're writing about, oh my gosh, isn't it so nice to look out my window and see the mountains or see the palm trees or whatever it is. And I'm walking distance from this particular place and the weather is always like this particular way. And as you're journaling, you're connecting with those feelings inside of you. Or you are kind of having an inner dialogue with yourself, or maybe you're not writing it, but you're kind of going through the story in your own head where, oh my gosh, I can't believe I get to live here and I love it here so much. And I'm in my dream place. And this is what I get to do in my day to day here, or that I'm in the perfect apartment or the perfect house. And so these are some ways that you can start to get an idea of like, okay, what does that feel like? So then after this initial kind of meditation, journaling, whatever you decide to do, okay, what were those feelings? What was the feeling that you experienced from that? And you might say, oh, you know what? What really came to me was like this feeling of freedom, or what really came to me was this feeling of joy, or what really came to me was this feeling of just like limitlessness and abundance. And it might be multiple things, but it's really about you getting familiar with what's the feeling. And then from there, what you can do is continue to practice bringing that feeling into your being in everyday moments. So in the beginning, it might feel a little tricky to connect with that feeling just like out of the blue. So it can be helpful to go back to these practices daily, multiple times a day, whatever you want. You can switch it up and do multiple different practices, but maybe like a meditation in the morning where you're just simply visualizing yourself walking through your life in that reality. And then maybe before bed, you're journaling about it, right? Or, maybe in the afternoon you're sitting and you're like talking to yourself as if you're there and you're just talking yourself through it. And so multiple times a day, you're getting back into that energy and you're connecting with the feeling, because I've talked about this in another video as well, but it's really not about the actual manifestation. Like it's not really about the place or the thing that you desire. What you really crave is the feeling. So you don't really have to be so fixated on the thing. It's not the thing that's giving it to you. We're just using the experience or the thing or the visualization as a way to help you connect with the feeling. Because the more that you embody the feeling, the more you're going to attract in more things that are on that same wavelength, if that's what you want to call it, on that same wavelength. And so it doesn't necessarily matter what the specific thing is, because the more you feel into that feeling and the more you embody it, the more your reality is going to reflect it back to you in many ways, in more than just that particular thing. That's the thing I want you guys to realize here is it's really like, I don't want you to get so attached to the visualization or so attached to the specific way you've been journaling about it or so attached to the specific thing that you think you want, because the more attached we get, the more we actually limit ourselves from receiving like all these other amazing things that could be on that same wavelength that we're not even aware of. And then we get them and we're like, oh my gosh. Okay. So just really understand that the visualization or the journaling or whatever, it's just simply a tool to help you connect with the feeling. And once you get good at practicing the feeling, so let's say every day, you're doing your meditation, you're doing your journaling, you're really starting to get familiar with the feeling. Then after time, you can kind of start to take off the training wheels, I call it, where you won't even need the visualization anymore. You won't even need the journaling anymore, because you'll be able to just kind of conjure up that feeling within yourself without having to walk through the visualization or walk through the journal prompts. Okay. So it's like after time, you'll just be able to connect with that feeling of abundance, or you'll just be able to connect with that feeling of freedom the second that you kind of set your intention on it. So, for me, for example, in the beginning of doing this type of work, it did take a lot more of like the meditation and the visualization and the really connecting with it to help myself connect with those feelings. Because what happens is the reason that you want that particular thing or that particular experience, like I said, is because you're wanting to expand into those different states of being. I know I've talked about this in other videos, so go back and check out some of my other videos, but what we're really craving is to step into more of who we are. And the reason that we want these particular things is because we associate those things with having the feelings that we desire to embody. And so the more that we start to just tap into those feelings and make them our norm, the more that we're really not only bringing those things into our reality, but we are stepping into more of the truth of who we are. So anyways, like I was saying, when I started to do this type of work, I had to focus a lot on the practices, do the different meditations, the journaling. But once you get good at it, you don't need the tools and the techniques anymore in terms of like the meditation or the affirmations. You can just go about your day, and anytime that you want to, you can just start to feel those things again. So, like I was saying, you sometimes it's not as natural for us in the beginning to tap into those feelings they're not because we wouldn't desire to expand into them if they were something we were already naturally experiencing. So let's say like when you imagine yourself living in this place, you feel like new levels of freedom and abundance and excitement. Well, the reason they feel a little bit tricky in the beginning to just naturally tap into is because you're not naturally living in that state of being. Otherwise, you wouldn't desire it. Does this make sense? It's like if you were already living that way naturally and feeling that way all the time, you wouldn't desire this thing or experience because it would already be your norm. So the whole reason you're even desiring it is because there's a part of you that wants to expand into that next level version of yourself that really feels that way. So in the beginning, it's like you might need those training wheels to help you tap into that feeling because it's a new feeling for you. Maybe you felt it at certain points in your life. Maybe there's certain moments or memories you have where you felt it, or periods of your life where you remember feeling it, but it's not something that's your norm right now. And that's why you're craving it. And so it might take some practice where you're using these tools, you're using these techniques, you're using affirmations. That's another one I didn't mention, but once you've kind of got the gist of it down, like let's say you do your initial meditation, you do your initial journaling, you're clear on the feeling, well then you can create affirmations that help you connect with it in little moments throughout the day where, okay, you know what, I realize from that meditation what I feel is limitless freedom. And so your affirmation could simply just be, I am limitlessly free, or I am living in limitless freedom, something like that. And that when you say it, you create the affirmation in a way where like you feel it when you say it. So you want to put it in your language, like in the words that you would use. You want to put it in your own voice. Like you want to say it in a way that's how you would talk. So if you imagine yourself in that situation, you want to have it, you want to imagine, well, what would I be saying? How would I be talking to friends? How would I be talking to family? If I was being interviewed about my experience, about having this manifestation, how would I talk about it? And so put your affirmation in those terms, because that's going to be the most powerful for you, because it's going to conjure up the most feeling for you. So that's another way to start doing it is after you kind of have your initial experience, you connect with the feeling, you know what it feels like in your body, then you can have little affirmations throughout the day that help kind of snap you back into it, where for those moments you're back into it. And like I said, for me personally, whenever there's something new that I kind of can sense that I'm desiring, I'll always go back to the drawing board and start from the beginning. Start with a meditation, start with journaling, start with just a kind of like an inner dialogue with myself where I'm getting clear on like, okay, what is it that I want? I'm visualizing it. I'm imagining myself there. I'm feeling the feelings within myself. And then I'm getting clear on the feeling. And then for me, I like to create affirmations from it where I just throughout the day, I might be in the shower. I might be driving in the car. I might be in the kitchen. I might be doing laundry. I might be just in little moments going on a walk, whatever. And I might repeat it to myself a few times until I'm in that feeling again. And then I just bask in that feeling as long as I can. Because what you also might realize is in the beginning, it's kind of tricky to hold on to the feeling for a long period of time. So, which you'll get better at. It just comes with practice. You'll get better at it over and over again. You just keep practicing staying in that feeling, and you'll stay in it longer, and you'll stay in it longer and stay in it longer. And like I said, the whole point of this is so that feeling starts to become your norm. It starts to become natural to you. No, like I said, the training wheels come off, and no longer are you having to do the daily meditations or the journal prompts. And not that you have to, like they should feel good. So pick something that feels fun to you. If you don't like meditation, don't do it. If you don't like journaling, don't do it. Find one that is enjoyable to you. I know a person who she didn't like journaling or meditating, but she liked recording voice notes for herself where she would imagine her, like her way of getting into it was she would just start talking to her voice note recorder on her phone and talking as if she's that version already living it. So she would just start saying like, okay, so today, like I woke up and this like as if she's in it right now. And then she'd play it back for herself on her walks or throughout her day to day. So she'd actually be listening to herself in her own voice, speaking it out to her. It's kind of the same as journaling and then like reading that journal back to you, reading it as if it's a version of you that's already there, but she just preferred speaking, right? If you're someone who's really artistic, what you could do is find something that you enjoy and like you could draw yourself there, draw yourself in that scene, right? There's so many ways that you could make this work for you. I have a whole other video about how manifestation is really just doing what feels good for you. So don't make this work. Don't make this like some huge process, but find the way that feels good for you to imagine yourself there, to feel yourself there, to get yourself in that feeling, and then create, like, I would just recommend creating some sort of affirmation or some sort of like imaginal scene. That's another thing you could do instead of an affirmation, where you could pick from your visualization. If you're a visual person, pick like one scene out of your whole visualization. Like, let's say you visualize a whole day living in this new place, right? Your reality. Just pick one scene of that feels particularly satisfying, that like the second you imagine it, you're there. So like maybe it could be a moment in the scene where like you're really like immersed in nature and you're like really feeling so grateful for where you are, or whatever the case may be in this visualization. And so throughout your day, that's almost like your affirmation. It's like you just bring that scene to your mind. You don't have to even go through the whole visualization and you're there. You're in the feeling. It's very similar to an affirmation where like I personally will just say like, oh, I am unlimited. I am limitlessly free. I am effortlessly abundant. Like I'll say those words and I'm like, oh God, I can like feel it. And so then I might repeat the affirmations if I like. I might keep saying them if it feels good, or I might just bask in the feeling. And you just practice it over and over again until one day you're going to wake up and notice it's just more of your norm. You're able to tap into it like that. You're not having to do these like kind of intentional activities, because longer and longer you're just in that state of being. You might just wake up in that state of being. You might notice for hours on end in the afternoon, you're just in that feeling. You're feeling that as your natural state of being. And then what happens is the more it's natural to you, the more that's the energy that you're embodying, the more that that's the signal that you're broadcasting out into the world, and the more that the world around you has to mold and meld and basically adjust to reflect that back to you. Let me know if this is making sense. I hope this answers your question for the one of you who asked me this. And I'm so glad you asked this question, because I think this is something that a lot of people are probably wondering about and wanting more direction on. I know it's something for me. It's like these practical steps that we can take in the day to day to really like ground in these manifestations. And I really want to drive home this point that please don't make it feel like work, because if it feels like work, it's actually going against your manifestation. Because think again, what's the feeling of your manifestation? It's joy, it's lightness, it's ease, it's freedom, it's excitement, it's bliss. It's something along these lines, right? And so if you're starting to feel frustration and annoyance and like you have to do it, that's automatically canceling out like the work you'd be doing in the meditation or in the journaling, because you're already feeling frustrated. So any feelings that you're conjuring up in those moments, like there's already something kind of blocking it in a way. So enjoy what you're doing. It should feel fun. Please don't make this feel like work. Another thing you could do is like, I personally don't like to do this because I don't feel like this works for me. But if you have somebody in your life that you trust and that you like to do this type of stuff with, you could sit and have conversations with each other where you're just telling each other your dreams, but as if like speaking as if it's already there. So you're talking it out to each other. Like it can be, maybe you're somebody who that really works for, where it's more fun if you have somebody else involved and you're kind of building off each other. And I've actually listened to a podcast where two people were doing this, where they each took turns, but one person went first and she started talking like as if she was already in it, and the other person started answering back to her as if she was seeing it for her. So instead of her going into like her own manifestation, she, this woman would be like, okay, I'm stepping into my dream life. I'm doing this, this, and this. This is my experience. And then the friend would be like, oh my gosh, yeah, and I saw you the other day and it was so amazing how you were doing this, this, and this. And tell me more about that. And so they'd kind of like riff off each other, almost like an improv. And it would lead into the next. And so then it would give the other person more ideas about, oh my gosh, I didn't even ever think to expand on this or talk about this. And it would help to really like free flow it. And then they would switch. And so then this person would go and the other. And so it's like you can make fun games out of it. You can make it exciting. You can make it like a playful activity between you and a friend where you feel really supported. Like find ways to curate the feeling that feel fun to you, and then keep practicing that feeling over and over again by, use those training wheels while you need them. Use the meditations, use the journaling, use the, guided affirmations, use, practicing with friends, and then have your own little kind of anchors, you could call them, like a quick affirmation, a quick imaginal scene, a quick, few minutes of breathing and imagining you're breathing into that moment where you're just right back in there and then you're in the feeling. So let me know in the comments below. How did this resonate with you guys? Do you have any more questions? Like I said, the whole inspiration behind this video was a question that one of you asked. So this is just a reminder to leave your questions in the comment box below, because I will answer them. And sometimes I will make a video out of them, because I want to make sure that this is all content that's serving you guys as well. So hope you enjoyed this. Leave your comments down below. Say hi. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to work with me further or, learn more about what I do, all the links you need are down below. There's a booking link for one-on-one sessions and different types of them, like a single session, packages. There's also the link to apply to my kind of higher level one-on-one coaching, which is where we work together for a certain period of time. And there's some additional things that come along with that make it kind of this higher level package. So you can check that out. And then there's also the link to the free 14-day trial of the membership, which is my monthly subscription platform where we do all kinds of fun stuff. It's basically like, if you like the stuff here, it's just even more of that, and live calls and interaction with the group and all that stuff. So anyways, hope you guys are having an amazing day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.